Good morning. I'm higher vibrations, and so are you. Hey, everyone, for coming. Thank you for coming, for being here. Right now is crazy time. Oh my goodness, we got so much happening. Um, we have a lot of planetary stuff going on as well, and there I'll get to that in a little bit. There is a point to be made. Um, a lot of us have been talking. I don't know how many of you follow the Schumann resonance, and like that's like the heartbeat of Gaia, of the Earth, and so we can measure that. There's a whole system of a couple of individuals that actually have ways to follow that you can just look it up online. Googling it will help you to find that resource. I bring this up because in the beginning, I was following it really closely, and I watched as it began to spike unprecedentedly. Where before it was between 4 and 14, then we started having these amazing ascension experiences as a collective at the beginning of lockdown, the beginning of 2020. And I know that there's a lot of opinions about what happened and what didn't happen, and I don't really know what the plan was. I know what the result was, and it was beautiful. And it's helped a lot of people to start to like ascend and start to awaken, to meditate, and so on. And so the started to spike up to 800, and it was really cool to watch. And it's very validating to like know something's going on inside your body, and then have a resource you can go look and say, like, what's happening. Then they started to edit it. That's just my opinion. No one has said they edited it. However, it always goes offline. It goes into a blackout right during the time when it's spiking. There'll be activity. You can tell it's about to spike. Now we're having the same thing happening for solar flares. I feel like that we're getting solar flares, and I'll look it up and it says that there's nothing happening. So this is just keeping this in mind. I feel like we're having a lot of solar flares. So a lot is happening for everyone. We're all having incredible ascension symptoms right now. So let's go ahead and say hello to everyone here. Thank you all for coming. Vegan Vixen, hello, beautiful people. Love from Wales, UK. Anyone having anxiety, depression, and the feeling of not wanting to be here? I'm struggling with it at the moment and have lost too much weight. Anyone else? So this is a really common thing that a lot of people are having happen right now, Vegan Vixen. The weight thing, it's one side or the other. So if you don't resonate and you don't relate to the losing a whole bunch of weight, a lot of individuals are also suddenly putting on more weight. Before I go into the question specifically, those who are putting on more weight, from what I understand, it's the need for more space to contain more light. That's part of why we are being drawn to, encouraged to drink more water. The plasma, the light, moves through our system better, moves through water easier. And so the higher content of water helps that. The weight loss experience is something that I was experiencing for the most of it of this past few years, until just the past little bit. I'm going back into this loss of appetite, and finding my just I have no desire for a lot of the things that are around. And so as a result, I'm going through what's called unplanned fasting. I call it unplanned fasting because I don't plan it. I have no intention of fasting, and then I'm just skipping meals because I just don't have any desire. The anxiety, depression, let's talk about this for a moment. This is a collective experience. A lot of people are having this. So a lot of individuals right now are waking up. And what I mean by this, I've been saying that for a while. This is a bigger one. This is like everyone else is waking up is what's happening. And while that occurs, a lot of freak out, a lot of anxiety, a lot of panic, a lot of anxiety, a lot of, oh my goodness, I've been lied to my whole life. And what did they do to us kind of stuff? And we're feeling a lot of that. The other side of that token, or the other part of that story, is also that during this time, it's very similar to a Lionsgate kind of experience that we're having right now. And that's all of the things that can be healed now because you're containing enough light to do it. All of the things that can be healed are going, hey, look at me. You can heal me now. You want to? And so there's a lot of that kind of stuff. And so it's popping up a lot of old things that we haven't really looked at for a while, causing this depression kind of experience and not wanting to be here because we're not really in this place. The where we are right now is not where we came to be. And we know that we're moving into this next phase of development. Stick in there, stick around, please, Vegan Vixen. You know, all of you, I implore you. I understand exactly what you're going through. I went through very, very many years of even being incredibly suicidal, even. And just it's worth it to stick around. There's so much happening right now. Like, to miss this moment would be just tragic. So please stick around. Vanya says, hello, lovely souls. We're all having strong ascension symptoms in all parts of the body, but I was hoping you could shed some light on the emotional effects of ascension on us. Thank you, Pamela. Thank you for such a well-written question. So the emotional effects of ascension, I would say that what I've been experiencing personally, apart from like what Vegan Vixen mentioned, like this stuff that's just like pops up. It's like, I don't know why I'm irritable right now. All of a sudden there's frustration. What's this anger? Why is this here? And understanding that all of these types of experiences, all these emotional, we've assigned the word, and it doesn't feel like it really resonates, but that it's like negative emotions or less enjoyable emotions is, I guess, is a better way of saying it. They're all popping up. They're popping up. They're not you. They're separate from you. That's the most amazing realization that I've had about this stuff. And when I realize that it's separate from me, then I'm able to work through it a lot easier and without as much heartache, I guess, because I realize that it's something moving through and it's a separate experience. When I started to do that, all of a sudden, I found this kind of place where it's like, wow, everything's so cool and happy and joyful. And it's really a beautiful thing. As we move through that, this is what I was getting to at the end of that story, is that now there's like this calm, this joy, this stable, this mellow kind of thing that's happening for me for the most part. We'll definitely still have the ups and the downs, but not nearly as severe. And it just seems like we're kind of moving to a more balanced emotional space. So it's kind of fun once we can get there. Before I forget, there's a list of things that are happening astrologically in the beautiful night sky you can observe. One of which, of course, is the full moon. We're in the strawberry moon. That's why there's a strawberry moon in the thumbnail. However, there are 6 conjunctions this month alone, and 3 of those are at the same time. What day is that? That one's the 22nd, which is exactly in the window of the solstice, which is, the 20th, 21st, depending on where you are on the planet. And so there's just a lot of other things going on too, but just keeping that in mind that we're there, we're in this place. And then there's something else and today is when Venus is at dichotomy. So that appears half lit, full strawberry moon behind the moon. So it's kind of cool. Just side notes. So there's some other, always the astrological stuff that's occurring. I notice, I can feel it. I know something's happening, so I look it up. And so there's the information for anyone that's interested. And I got this information from that video I posted into my community section a few days ago. So if you're interested in looking at all of the different things that are occurring this month, it's really a useful resource. Mia says, hi, Vegan Vixen. Okay, so she's talking to somebody else. I'm going to go ahead and let her. Prithvi, good to see you. I too have lost weight and cannot put it back on. This is more common than the other side. People finding that they're incredibly. We are moving into a place that a lot of the foods, a lot of the things that we consumed previously don't resonate with our body any longer. Carmen, you're here. Good to see you, buddy. And so as we move through each day, we're finding that our body's craving certain things and it's choosing to not eat a lot of the things that we eaten before. As an example, I was a very dedicated carnivore for the vast majority of my life. I was raised a vegetarian, and as soon as I was allowed to, I was out eating red meat. And then I found very quickly that my body just no longer was okay with red meat. Like I would make me ill, and it would leave my body as quickly as it could in every direction. And so I slowly omitted certain types of meat. And before I knew it, I became a vegan. And that's where I'm at today. So, this is something that's occurring even more. Little things here and there. We notice like certain types of preservatives that are in foods really mess with our bodies. And, if you think about it, what does a preservative do, and how is that going to help you? So I suppose that makes a lot of sense. So there's just a lot of things like that going on for us. Um, Helen says, "Hi, Soul Family. Finally a chance to make the live. Yay, woohoo. Bring on the New Earth vibes. We're here. It's a time to celebrate." There's a lot of stuff happening community-wise, too, throughout all the communities. We knew that when we came into this month, we were going to start to witness a bit of what's kind of seen as a mass exit. And a lot of us are finding in each one of our communities that we're noticing more and more heightened ambulance activity and stuff like that. It's not actually coming in as reports. You just know what's happening around you. These individuals, a lot of them are not considered fully embodied, if that's the right word. Like there's a lot of individuals who are kind of like holograms or NPCs, or is that the right way? Yeah. And just the non-player characters, filler people kind of individuals too. So that's kind of a whole nother rabbit hole to jump down, but it's very interesting to see that the whole thing happening. Edward, hello, good to see you. Spiritual warrior, I'm happy to catch this live. Beautiful. Hello, beautiful souls. Hi, good to see you, spiritual warrior. I'm so happy to see you. Donald says hello, welcome. Stephanie is talking to you. She says, hi, truck girl, Carmen. And everybody. Julie, hi everyone. Hi, it's good to see you, Danita. I'm so happy to see you, Danita. That's really awesome to see you come. Jackie, hi everyone from Glasgow, Scotland. That is an amazing, wonderful place to be right now. There's some amazing energies coming out of the ground there. It's so fun to go into meditation and to follow the path of all these energies that kind of move around in the ground. And that's a really important portal space right now. We're moving into a portal energy also. This is something I don't want to forget to mention on 6/6. That's a portal. And so a lot of us are feeling it right now too. So that's kind of amplifying the already intense experience that we're all having. So just there's a lot of cool stuff going on. Vicky says, hi, all from UK. So happy to be able to be part of this amazing group. I'm so glad that you're here, Vicky. Thank you for coming. It's so great to see that everybody's able to join today. Spiritual warrior, I totally agree about what happens with the Schumann and the solar flare activity being edited. It'll be on a blackout, and I feel like a dump truck is sitting on top of me. I know it's popping off. Yeah, exactly. And I noticed it started to be edited, I would say, the winter before last. I would say it was the winter before last. Before I would be, usually it wake me up and I'm like, oh, Schumann resonance. And you go to the Schumann resonance and you see it spiking, it's validation. And then, you'd complain to your friends the next day, oh, the Schumann kept me awake. And now you look at it, it's like blackout. And same as for the solar flares, I think it just started because we've been trained since January last of what it feels like when the solar flares come in. We can hear it, we can feel it, the body stuff that's happening. And then now looking and seeing that there's no reports on it. It's like, no, that doesn't make any sense. So let's see. Okay, spiritual warrior. Yeah, no appetite here either. Yeah, it's a lot more water, the need to drink more water, not just water, either like teas and juices and stuff. There's a lot of things that our body does need. And now we're moving into a place where we're eating higher resonance food, and the higher the water content, the higher the frequency is kind of how it works. I'm sure not always, but for the most part, that's a good judge of the frequency of the food. And so I know that my big thing right now, of course, is things like strawberries. The strawberry moon is called that because this is when the strawberries start to ripen. But that's only things that are growing around here really sound good. I don't really want to go to the store I don't want to eat store food. um, let's see. John says, have you been called to change your entire life up? That, yes, that's exactly the life I'm living right now. I am a completely different person than I was a few years ago, then even more so than I was a decade ago. Like, my awakening, like most of you, started has been done in phases. And my initial, like, where I would say this is a point in my timeline of note is when I was 4 and I had my first near death experience. And it's just, each phase is like a noticeable difference. And but looking back, yeah, I'm a completely different person. um I was very involved in media and news and fast food and just drama, conflict, and things like that kind of followed me around because I'm sure I created them. That type of stuff, and now I'm that person that if someone wants to engage in conflict or whatever, I let them know that they're loved and then I walk away. I don't have any desire to participate. I have no investment in the outcome either. There's a lot of things. I'm a home teaching mom, homeschool teaching mom there's a lot of things that have changed. So, yes, I would say that most of us undergo a profound change in mind and body during our awakening experience. And we find, as we look back, we can barely recognize who we used to be. Mariette says, I know I have to live more healthy, but these days I like to eat a lot of stuff that is not the most healthy. It looks like my body needs that stuff. Yeah. I've actually had that happen too, where things that I have intentionally omitted from my body, from eating, from my diet, has, I've had cravings for, and I'll honor my body. If my body's asking for it, I'll go for it. Especially if I know that I haven't recently introduced it into my body and it's not considered something that would be addictive, like sugars, as an example for me. And so, yeah, and then I've found, however, when my body is calling for those particular foods that I know aren't good for me, that are not good for my particular body, that my body doesn't like it and usually sends it back out quickly. It's because it wants to do a cleansing. It wants to clear my body. Eating something that is not in harmony with my body, it will leave quickly and it clears out my system. And so I think that's why most of the time, but not always. There are minerals and things that a lot of us don't get because we don't walk around barefoot as frequently as we used to. That's why we have such large pores on the bottoms of our feet, in contrast to the pores throughout the rest of our body, is that we absorb the minerals and nutrients from the soil as we walk about the earth. And not just that, we also do this process called the ionization process. Our body contains a whole bunch of positively charged ions that just are not in higher frequency for us. They kind of feel like static, and it's like, and then when you go out and even on the concrete, if you could just put your feet or even your hands, and walk upon the earth, or just be on the earth in some way, it will send out all those positively charged ions back into the soil, back into the earth. And then we have the negatively charged ions now part of our body, and we're in more alignment and in peace and balance. And so it just makes a lot of sense when you look back on it. So let's see, I've lost my spot here. Edward, I've been using my red light panel multiple times a day with a lot of grounding. Yeah, awesome. I don't actually know the red light panel. That's really interesting. I'll have to look that up. I do know that grounding is incredibly important right now. Grounding for me, I'm finding a lot of grounding in water, even like baths, doing the dishes, in particular going out to places of natural water sources, or not so natural, like we go to the dam area and then, it comes from a natural source at some point. And just engaging with the water, just speaking loving words to the water too, and saying I love you and things like that actually changes the water and sends back the same energy you sent to it multiplied by quite a bit. You could just, it's like a rush of like, wow, it makes sense. What we're basically doing is creating holy water by imbuing it with love and light. if you are interested, emotion of water, typing that into any kind of search engine on the internet will pull up a lot of different really cool images. I'd show you now, but I've discovered I can't actually share screen, at least in, I haven't figured out how on this format. It's really cool though to see how the water molecules in a microscopic way change based on the words we use to it. Vegan Vixen, thank you, Pamela. I love you so much. I love you too, sweetie. I'm really happy that you're here. All of you have such an important role. That's why you're here. We came in already prepared, able and capable, armed with all that we need to know and to bring in the light. We've come here as the bringers of love into a place that was speaking with fear, and we're helping all those around us by sharing in this love and bringing the love up and forward. So it's just really cool that we're all here, and I'm really happy that you're all participating in this beautiful awakening thing. We couldn't do without you. Lisa says, yes, all health issues and thinking, why stay alive? As I mentioned before, my stuff is health issues because it's been 1 year of body symptoms and they are debilitating. I'm really sorry to hear that, Lisa. Yeah, it does. It right now is the really a moment of like, especially since we know so many people are departing, so many lower people who are not able to be of this higher frequency embodiment. And so a lot of people are choosing, and I don't mean by means of by their own hand. It's just the departure that is occurring. We're all feeling it, and so it can really interfere with our balance at times. To do whatever it is that you can to be in a place of gratitude really helps me, and as soon as I get there, it seems like it's like an impossible task when you're trying to get there, but once you start it, then it all of a sudden transmutes all things around you, and you're more able to connect to all of these higher frequencies, and then it becomes something of ease. It's just to get there. And so how I've done that is there's these silly, and I know I mentioned it before, but it's compilations of random acts of kindness on YouTube here. It's really helpful to bring up the vibration and be like, oh, people are nice to each other. People are good people. And usually I'll go into a place of tears at that point, which is an important thing to mention here. The release through tears is one of the most amazing superhero powers that you have. Like, you have this amazing superpower of release. And it's not simply releasing for you, but it's releasing for a lot of energies around you and within your vicinity, as well as beyond that space. People who had come here and not fully healed through things, we're healing through things for them too. So we're finding that it's kind of a task. It's a big undertaking. And we're at the peak. We're at the precipice. We're at this. It looks like this. Our ascension looks like this, and then there's like a peak a little bit, and then it kind of. But there's this peak, and right where we're at right now, we're at that peak. Where that jog, there's a little bump right before the beautiful place, and so we're noticing that we're feeling the tension rising as it moves through. It's we're moving into a great place. We're almost there. Catherine says, feeling exhausted when I wake up. Yes. Oh my goodness. Have also lost a lot of weight and have no appetite. Hair is still falling out. I'm sorry to hear about your hair. I don't resonate with that one in particular, but a lot of people do. A lot. I am having my hair change. My hair feels weird. It feels like a lot softer. It's really strange, and it's growing quicker. So are my nails. I just cut them and they're already getting really long. There's just this thing happening with people's hair right now. People who were gray are waking up to notice like profound change in their hair, and not all of the gray going right away, but enough when it's startling. It's as if they had dyed their hair. And also I've known a few people who have dyed their hair a few times and it won't stay in their hair. Like, it's actual dye. It's not like spray stuff. And it's not on their pillow either when they wake up. There's stuff going on with hair, fingernails, all kinds of stuff. Our skin is changing. A lot of people are noticing that they have a higher sensitivity to touch, as well as different types of sensation on skin. I'm noticing, and I have for a while, like acne-like stuff on my skin. I wouldn't call it acne exactly anymore. I don't know what else to call it, but it's these bumps, these red bumps, and some of them do have the need to pop them. Well, I just jumped and okay. I need to catch up. I'm sorry. I didn't realize there were so many more comments. All right. So where was I? I need to figure out how to make this be more smooth in the future. It happens frequently. Genevieve, welcome. Good to see you. Strawberry Moon. As you're talking to each other, Marionette, the full moon is bringing a change where heaviness will make room for relaxation and more peace. Aho. I totally resonate with that, Marionette. Mariette, there's a lot happening right now that's bringing in a higher frequency of light. By the way, something that I've recently discovered, the use of polarized sunglass lenses. I'm not a big sunglasses person. I'm just somebody but I have been as these solar flares have intensified the effects of the sun. It's really helpful and useful. When I'm wearing my polarized sunglasses, there's a lot more in the day sky that we don't normally see. Planets, vessels, all kinds of stuff. And even people who you would consider muggles or regular people or normal people or whatever word you want to use. I like muggles, non-magical folk. It's kind of funny. It came from Guardian of Orion. He said that. And when I wear those glasses, I can see those things, but then I share those glasses with those regular folk. They see them too. So if you have polarized lenses, check out the sky. There's a lot of energies that are loving. I can feel that they're very loving and supportive. They're coming and helping in some way. And they're attempting to assist us with this peace, with this relaxation, with this removal of density. And that's what's happening. That's what we're doing. It's a pulling away of density right now. Thank you for sharing that. Elaine, welcome. As we detox toxins from our livers, stored emotions are also released. Yes, we may never know what is causing the emotional release. You're totally right, Elaine. There's so much. Also in emotion is stored in fat, memory is stored in fat as well. And so as we lose this weight, surprisingly losing this weight, then these emotions get stirred up. They kind of like boil to the surface and are like, hey, you ready to deal with me? We've spent probably more than this lifetime stuffing emotions. Ignore it, it'll go away kind of thing. And by doing this, when we ignore and stuff, we actually imprison, we hold it in place so it can't go anywhere. And so as we start to address it, to look at it, all you have to do is look at it. You don't even need to, it has nothing to do with who you are. It's not a new label or a new box to put yourself in. It's simply you existed, you happened, and I see you. Thank you for your service. Goodbye. And let it move on. Emotions aren't actually connected to you. This whole time, I was taught, and I'm sure a lot of you have been taught as well, that emotions have something to do with who we are, our identity. It's inside and part of us, and they actually aren't. These emotions are energies moving past and through us. And so when we trap them there, it's like it's a barrier, a blockage or something. And so to release them and to let them move on, really it helps. This is what Archangel Michael says too. He says that we are to acknowledge them without judgment. And that's what I mean by it not part of our identity, not a label or part of who we are, and to release them with love. With love is to send out the I love you. Thank you for your service. A lot of these things did help us. They compelled or propelled us. And then propelling it out by sending love to it, sending love behind it to kind of guide it away. Here you go with love. Goodbye. Thank you. And then all of a sudden it's like, what? I'm free. I'm in joy, I have this energy and I'm running around with my kid and just, it changes the world that I'm in. And so allowing yourself to acknowledge that really helps. We're not denying anything. We want to acknowledge it so that it can go. So, thank you for mentioning that, Elaine. That was really beautiful and poignant. Carmen, you guys are losing weight. I think I found it. Yeah. So a lot of people are there. It's both sides. Most people, on average, I would say more people than not, are in this profound weight loss period. I'm finding I was doing that for a few years, and then all of a sudden I found it back this winter. And it wasn't due to I needed to, and now I'm losing it again. It's just a process that our bodies are going through. I needed to contain more light. And while I was larger, I've noticed my body vibrating a lot more. There was a lot more of that kind of sensation. So, pardon me. Okay. Sarah says, I was so excited to watch the strawberry moon set over the Pacific early this morning. Oh, I'm so happy that you were able to watch that. The moon has been amazing. It's a super moon. It's the moon is the closest to our planet that it will be all year. So therefore it's the largest in size. Hold on a second. I need to fix this really quick. Here we go. I'm sorry about that, everybody. Anyway, so then we have David Johnson. I finally joining live for the first time. Thanks to you all, Pamela. Everything resonates. Experiencing the back, shoulder joint popping and energetic wings coming in. You've been talking about. I'm so happy you're able to join. Thank you for coming. Yeah, it's been really amazing. It's been really amazing watching this evolution of our body and mind and seeing so many beautiful things occurring, things that we wouldn't have really considered earlier on in our life, probably. And it's just fun to witness this experience as it happens. It's really cool. I captured the blue moon's magical aura too, Sarah says. Cool. That's awesome. Good morning to Kuldeep. Good to see you, sister. How are you feeling? Sumian says, people are leaving my life. So much beautiful detachments and freedom. Oh, I'm so happy to hear that you're having some awesome experiences as a result of this. There's so many cool, wonderful experiences happening right now that people are getting the chance to really kind of connect to their higher self, their higher energy. And as we do that, we hear a lot of bubbling, popping, zee kind of stuff. It's not the ear ringing. It's like there's a frequency as we're raising our frequency up to it. And as we do that, we notice that more and more people have no desire to be in our bubble. This is just like we do. So if you find that there's an energy that's interacting with you that you're not familiar with or that you're uncomfortable with, especially, all you have to do is send love to it. When you send love to it, you are basically giving it no one shall pass except for kind of stuff. Because if it is of love, it will return that love in an amplified way. If it is not of love, it will flee. For shadow cannot stand before the light. That's a quote from Archangel Michael's channel message a while ago that came through to me. And I have witnessed this occurring. It's so crazy and awesome. This also happens with somebody who's embodied that has all of these attachments or energies that aren't that great. When we begin to resonate at a higher frequency, a place of love, they are compelled to flee. They have no desire to stay in that space. It's like the best repellent, like a bug spray kind of thing. When they run away, a lot of times there's like this kind of thing before they leave. As the person, I can see energetically often there's like a shadowed energy that will like kind of like the activity will start to move on their body, and I can tell that they're about to shout because of it. Like the energy starts to move around. It's encouraging them to be upset because the energy's upset. And so when we do that, we also assist other people. It's fun because as a YouTuber, I'm able to find people come back to me that I've helped in the past and not realized I had helped. And as they come back, you can see that they're coming in at a higher frequency and that we assisted them. There was a seed that was planted. It's really cool. Spiritual Warrior, that's a bot, I think. Yeah, I had to do some correction. Thank you for your help, Spiritual Warrior. Prithvi, hey, good to see you. Love to everyone. Stacy says she's struggling here. Last 10 months, pain. IBS, anxiety through the roof, can't go anywhere, lost appetite, depression coming in now. I'm done here. A lot of people are having the same sensation. Knowing that this is a temporary thing sometimes does help. The a lot of people are noticing that this, like you said, IBS kind of stuff amplifying right now as their bodies are kind of saying, I don't want that food, I don't want that food, and I don't want that one. I found personally anything get contained in cans, anything with metal containers, even like if there's like a lid that's like got a metal or a aluminium foil lining, that it will, my body will send it out right away. It's a way to cleanse and get it out and get it out of out of our bodies, but it really does cause some struggles. The depression stuff is something that a lot of us do sense during these windows of time. And like I was saying earlier, many of us are sensing others as there's kind of a mass departure happening right now, and we're kind of feeling a lot of everyone's grief as that occurs, and so that's part of it too. I'm sorry that you're having this experience, sweetie. Please stick around. This is something that is this window of time that we're in right now. I keep thinking about this because I was so suicidal in my earlier years. And it's like, I'm so glad that I didn't succeed, that I wasn't able to. They didn't let me. And I'm so glad because I would have missed this. Like, when you go up there, you see all of these energies that are like in line and wanting to be here. And there's only a few of us, you and you and you and all of you, and as well as myself, are here because we are the ones that were chosen. Everybody volunteered. Everyone wants to be here right now for this grand awakening. This is something, and I know this sounds silly, but it's really true. We're in a place right now that is uniquely a unique historical event for in a galactic way, in a cosmic way. The entire universe has not had a planet ascend in this way, where we're ascending in our form. There's no need to perish. There's no need to die in order to ascend now. And it's an amazing thing. There is something I'd like to mention that will help a lot of people. I brought it over. I didn't know why, and now I get it. So there are these things. This is a puck. It's called orgon, or there's another word for it, and it's lost. I've lost it. Organite. There we go. That these are really useful. I got these on Etsy. There's a website that I got with it. I'm going to show it to you because there's a code that I got permission to share with anyone that would like. You can get 10% off. And so I'm just going to put it up close here so you can see it for the website as well. They're really cheap. Okay. They're very, very, very affordable. And here's the front of I don't know if you, I have one in every corner of my house, and it changes the frequency of the energy I'm in. That depression feeling, that emotional, struggly feeling that we have coming in went away as soon as I put one in the four corners of my house. I did the triangulation of my house, and it's changed everything. It transmutes the frequency that's coming in, and I feel lighter, happier, and it's easy. Joy is more accessible when I started to use these. So it really does help. There are other examples. Let me move my keyboard. There are other examples that you can get that are prettier, like this. The idea, see, what it is it's an energy purifier. So inside there's always some type of metal. This one looks like it has copper. And the metal is what lower density, lower frequency energy is drawn to. And so it brings it into it. Then there's quartz crystal and a variety of other awesome crystals that will change the frequency of the energy from a negatively charged or unpleasant, a negative energy, into a pleasant energy, and then send it out. These kind of things you never have to clean. And then, this is just the epoxy that keeps it all together. And then you can have them like this, where you can pick stones. And, particularly I liked the gold idea because it just brings in a certain frequency for me. There's a lot of different examples all over the place. They're very affordable. I got a 4-pack of these, and it was like $5. I think there was some additional charges for shipping. And then with this 10% code, it would be even more affordable. So That really helps. It does change the frequency. I have another one here. It's a little heart one that always it helps, as well as like the EMF kind of stuff, is just all of the staticky energy is coming through. So I am not associated with him apart from the fact that I got his product and I thought it was awesome, and I asked if I could share it with you guys. Let's see. Dharma, hello. First time here. Someone recommended it to me. Happy Sunday. Dharma, I'm so happy to see you. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. Lisa, purchase grounding mat. Yeah, grounding mats help. Any way of grounding, allowing yourself to ground. If you can't go outside and ground, if you don't have places to connect in that way, I bring soil into the house during the winter months because we have feet and feet of ice and snow that you cannot really connect with the soil and with the ground. And I'll just put my feet on top just for like 5 minutes a day and 10 minutes a day if it's my hands. I like to play in it too, and it's kind of fun to do with the kiddo, and it helps her to also get it. We have the mineral exchange and the grounding stuff, and then you're suddenly in a place of joy. I started doing that. I like to garden, and I was preparing early for my gardening, and then I found that my seasonal depression was suddenly gone. And the more that I did that, the more that I didn't have to deal with seasonal depression. That's where it started. So I've found now that it's actually really useful. A few years ago, psychology decided that it's important too, and they've talked about it now. They have a name for it. They call it earthing, and it's really a useful tool. So if you can't go outside, can't go into nature, that is very helpful. House plants also help. Bringing nature to you the best that you can really does help. Stacy, I ground in the woods daily, use crystal frequencies, singing bowls, breath work, still feel off. Yeah, I'm happy that you're doing all of those things. It is helping. I'm sure it's helping. It's just that we can't. There's so much coming through that sometimes it's hard to see the positive effects it's had. Meditation is where I've found the most healing. And so it's about being able to go into the breath and to notice how we're breathing. A lot of times we breathe in this shallow way and don't realize it, that we're teaching our body in those moments that we're supposed to be panicked, that there's a reason to be alarmed. And so that's why there's this breathing through the nose, filling up your belly completely, and then exhaling through the mouth and then doing it again. I'm sure you already know this, but it's a useful tool to keep in mind. This is Stacy's fourth dark night of the soul. I'm a bit in between worlds. I'm done in 3D. Yeah, we're all done with 3D, and we're so glad that it's over. Like, we're moving through and past it right now. And I think a lot of what people are experiencing right now too is this sense of mourning of this. However done we might be, it still was a place that we spent so much of our time, so many lifetimes, that there is some type of mourning, some kind of loss, some kind of, it's been your home all of this time. So allowing yourself to have grief and be okay with that, then that really does help. Okay, so Catherine, your messages were all retracted. I'm not sure if it was done by you or by but you said that you're not a bot. I'm not sure what that is. Hi, Catherine. You're being serious. I don't know what all of you've retracted about being serious. So maybe you can write it again, or I have not seen it yet. Ursula says, hello there, Ursula here from South Africa. Welcome, sweetie. I'm so happy to see you. Spiritual warrior invasion. Oh, I see. Yeah, that was earlier. There was a porno bot that came in. I had to do a little quick. I didn't notice it because it was so ahead of it. So you're trying to write. So I don't really understand what's going on here. So I'm going to go ahead. You are a bot, and so you're gone. I'm sorry. You cannot say those things on my channel. You're not that's very unkind. Thank you. Thank you, Donald, for reporting the bots. Trying not to judge. Yeah, thank you. There's no reason to judge. It's simply, we can't say, we need to be kind. We're here to be in a place of love and kindness. So thank you all for being so beautiful. Wow, what a beautiful energy just came out from everybody. Thank you all. I love you all so much. we're doing this together, and it's really, it can feel hard, it can feel struggly, but we just, it just takes some, take some breaths, take some time, be together. Also, if you have the ability to join me on Friday, like that, real, those groups really help us. Even if you can't talk, just being in the room with each other really helps. It's so kind and so loving to just be in this space of higher frequency. We leave with a recharging of our spiritual battery that you can't get anywhere else. I've not found in another way, in such a quick way. So it's just so beautiful. If you want to come connect, it really does alleviate a lot of the depression and sensation of doom that some of us have in the early pulling away part, not early in your awakening, just that part. As was mentioned earlier, many of us have multiple dark nights of the soul, and that's the peeling away of these relationships that no longer serve us. The shedding of relationships doesn't only mean romantic ones. This has to do with other types of relationships, like family and friends, particularly friends, often family. There's many members of my family that I don't communicate with. They hold a frequency that is not in alignment with mine, and those types of things happen, and they're hard when we go through them. It is also a light being shown on the soul window of time, where you're able to see the truth of all the things that are there. And sometimes the truth of what's inside and what's not been healed is startling. But simply seeing it is more than half the battle of relieving it and letting it move through. So keeping that in mind, that instead of an end, it's a beginning. There's a lot of beautiful things that can't come through until we're able to relieve ourselves of these other things. There's no room for it. It's like trying to have a cup of tea, but your cup is half full of coffee. You'll never know what tea truly tastes like until you dump out your coffee. As an example, I'm not suggesting you drink tea or coffee. It's totally up to you. But Robin on the L's, I look pregnant at 60. I understand what you're saying. So we're having a lot of people are having what we're calling the Buddha belly. So this area is a area we've talked about a couple of different times. Jackie, so good to see you. And there's just either it's water or air or both. We're having this filling up of this lower part of your torso area in your sacral and solar plexus chakra area. We're also having a lot of sensation in those areas. It's kind of difficult at first when we first notice it, because it's so pronounced. A lot of burping and flatulence. You're noticing a lot of air movement. The way to assist yourself in this is to direct the light of God to that spot. Like we're always pulling down light from God, and just directing the light. You can direct it through your body to the spot. Excuse me, speaking of burping, and then coming in through the directly to that chakral area. And that thing is, when we pull a density, when we pull a density away, when we walk away from a density, or however you want to word it, let's say it's this size of the fist. As it leaves, then it leaves behind a void that is almost twice as big, and that's air. It feels like air. It could be water. And when we add, and it's just a void and opening, and until we add light to it, it's a place that somebody else can come to. And so that's why a lot of times we'll notice that we have to continually address a specific part of our body, a specific chakral area, is that we've not remembered to put the light there after we've vacated the space. And so just remembering that, allowing yourself to guide the light there will help. However, I still have a Buddha belly. It's still kind of there, and that's okay. That's where we are right now, and I'm all right with it. But I totally get what you're saying, Robin of the Elves. I love your name, by the way. Jackie says, I finally have an appetite now again. Yay! That's awesome. That's really cool. It's good to see you. Donald said, this is my first live stream. Well, Donald, I want to let you know, normally we don't have bots that come in or people saying that are unkind things. So I'm really happy that you're able to join us today. Unity says, Sandy from Scotland, I've noticed unusual red dots on my skin. They're in alignment in triangles, usually unusual. My husband had the same last week. This is really common. That's what I was talking about earlier, the little weird red dots in areas of our body that are healing. We will usually find in retrospect after the fact. It's like, oh, wow, I was healing that area. Like I had it on my knees a little while ago. That was really weird because when it's on a joint that you use so much, it kind of stretches it and it feels really itchy and incredibly uncomfortable. I noticed that there were patterns to them as well. Mine looked kind of like a Merkaba. And so I guess it was, two triangles that were overlapping. This is a really common thing a lot of people talk about right now. Also with skin, there's this irritation that feels similar to like a light burn almost. Some people even talk about electricity or feeling like they're being shocked, like shocked with electricity. So it's just kind of there's a lot of stuff going on with our skin. Patchy rashes, areas that need a little bit more oil and stuff like that. This is all stuff that we're moving into this frequency. Cool Deep, you're getting better every day. Yay, I'm glad to hear it. It's good to see you. Spiritual Warrior says, I've noticed that I can hear the 4+1G towers. Yep. When they're switched on now. Sounds like a metallic insect sound. Like heat bugs in summer. Yeah, I've noticed that too. You can, when they turned them on back in March 2020, like I didn't know they had turned them on. I could hear it. And that's actually another really useful tool that's why this is another useful tool for that in particular. So it's not that big of an investment, but it's worth more than any of the pennies that you put into it. It's really helpful. And there are a lot of different examples of it. The prettier, the more expensive, though. These really basic puck ones are just as functional. They don't need to be a pyramid shape. And just really useful tools. So if you have any ability to do that, it's really helpful. It's different from the usual ear ringing. Yeah, I totally agree with you. I know exactly what you're talking about. It sounds like almost like a micro robotic sound. It's very fascinating that you could hear it too. That's cool. Donna says, hello all. Tissue salts are helping for physical and emotional symptoms. Noticing soles of feet are so sensitive lately. Tissue salts, interesting. I'll have to look into that. Thank you. Soles of the feet as well as soles of the hands, palms of the hands. I agree with you. I'm noticing that too. We come into a sensitivity when we start to have more use of it energetically. So when I started to get my healing hands upgrade, I started to actually get blisters right here, like stigmata. Right, it was a big joke for my friends. That as that happened, all of a sudden, then there was a sensitivity there as well, and then it got better. So that is something really common. The back. The stuff on the back, as well as the headache that comes from this band headache. Often it's one side or the other. Remember, we're healing the divine genders at this time. So right side divine masculine, left side divine feminine energies that are in balance and anchoring at this time, and just kind of finding it, because we know we've always been this pendulum that's like this, and now we're more like this, which is awesome. We're finding more balance. And so we'll sometimes switch from one side to the other or focus specifically on one side or the other. And then there's also this dull behind the eye, and then also behind the third eye spot. We're having a lot more of this. It's dull and often fleeting. There's one that I'll get occasionally that's either here or here or here that will shoot through, and you can feel it go out. It's like it moves through. It's very brief, however intense when it does happen. It could be compared to a migraine if it was long lasting at all, but it's just so brief and fleeting that it's not so much noticed as a migraine. It's just like, well, that was really something moved through just now. So Stacy says, my heels are numb and little fingers, elbows every day, and I ground in the woods daily. Yeah, so that numbness I've been having a lot too, particularly in my pinkies and on my baby toes on my feet. I'm not sure why that is. I do know that when it happens, I feel like I need to pull my energy back together again and kind of like orb make it a sphere, orb my energy into that area, into that spot, and it not just relieves it, but then I feel like then I can access a higher ability or sense with those appendages. So it's really more like a healing and awakening of those body parts, in my experience, and the aftermath of it. Donald says, I don't remember signing up for anything. I know. There's a bunch of us who have slowly recalled our signing up and regretted it anyway, but not really regretted it. Just, oh my goodness, what did I sign up for? You'd be surprised. The vast majority of us, it's fun as we evolve in our ascension experience. There's things we have more and more access to. And it's very interesting that the vast majority of the people I get to interact with on a daily basis, I find I get to go back to their birth. And most of them are like, never mind, I didn't realize I was getting into this. And, there's a lot of like birth trauma, or like, something happened as an infant that can be traced back to it. But it's really fascinating how many of us, never mind, whoa, it is really dense. When you first come here, it's the difference of all of a sudden it feels like you moved into a body of concrete and your entire body's in pain. You get used to the sense of the body, that we don't recognize all of these other pains that we have just being in the body, not even being injured in any way. And just that alone was a good reason for many of us to go, I don't know what I really realized what I was signing up for. Can I change my mind? Kind of thing. It's kind of funny. Nadia, good to see you. Hello. I didn't receive your comment earlier. Hell says, I've been starting taking NAC, a powerful antioxidant, and it's really helping with cleansing, healing, and mood. Awesome. I'll actually take a note of that and look into that. Thank you for that comment. Appreciate that. Stacy says, I'm currently using a still spoon on my feet. Oh my goodness. I don't even know what that's about. Still, you guys are teaching me a lot of these. I don't use a lot of these outside things typically, just because I don't have access to a lot of this stuff. I'm in the middle of nowhere where I live. It's kind of nice being in the middle of nowhere, but I just jumped. Okay, let's see. Spiritual Warrior, I've got those Organite from Andy. Cool, good stuff. They work. I have the pucks on my phone and router too. Yeah, I have them on my router, and they're just all over the house, really. But initially, I got the 4 to put in the windows, and they're just so useful. It's funny when it comes to, we have upgraded into our manifestation, and so when we start to shop for something, even after we've purchased it and are waiting for it to be delivered, all of a sudden, I'm finding that people start bringing the things to us that we've called for, not realizing we're manifesting it and calling for it. Then we end up with more than we had needed, or thought we needed. So we have quite a few. It's really helpful. Oh, 1111 is so good to see you, sweetie. I've been wondering about you. I have been having quick out-of-body experiences. I'll look at myself in a mirror or camera on my phone and be amazed that that person is really me. Yeah. Perspective shift. Perspective shift is one of the most profound experiences when we just raised our frequency and didn't realize that we did. And so it's like, whoa, I'm in this world, and this world is part of where I'm at. Also, we're pulling away from this old earth paradigm and moving over here and fully realizing that we're grounded and have our feet set on this new earth into Gaia. It's really cool. It's really a beautiful place to be. I'm happy that you're having those beautiful experiences at 1111. Good to see you, sweetie. Cool Deep says, oh yeah. Thank you so much, Cool Deep. I did. I went through and I removed anyone who was here without the desire to cause uncomfortable or harm to people are welcome to comment. And so those, we're here with a place of love and meant to stay that way. So thank you all for being such beautiful people. You guys are so cool. Karen says, hi, honey. You are so knowledgeable. Were you interested in all of this when you were young? I'm first wave war baby, and I never felt like I belonged here or to my family. I totally agree with what you're saying. I never felt like I remember watching that movie Total Recall because I had so limited, very few memories of my childhood. Though, just like many of you, I had a traumatic childhood, so there was disassociation and memories that have been forgotten. But I was convinced. I'm like, that's what happened. Someone went and kidnapped me from another planet, and then planted memories, just a few, in my brain to make me believe I belonged in this family that I don't belong in. I don't belong here. And totally get that. Um, I wasn't, I was, when I was a little person, I didn't have the same kind of understanding that I do now. Like, it was all in play. Now it's more intellectual as well as play. So, as a young person, I taught my older siblings and my younger siblings to, we used to call it out of body experiences back then, but that astral project. And we would astral project and play together in astral. And then I would wait for them to tell me their stories when we came back in order to get validation for myself over and over again. Just like all of you, a lot of us have been trained not to trust, not to believe your truth. And so it's really useful to have validation. It's really useful and empowering. Once you have enough validation under your belt, then you can just trust yourself, and that's really the ultimate goal. And so, yeah, I mean, I played around and I did those things. I remember I used to astral project up above the planet and sending love to the planet. It was more peaceful up there and quiet. And so I'd go there a lot. That was something I did a lot as a child, though I didn't really know what I was doing exactly. Um, I also do remember that whenever I would astral project as a child, I would become a very large being of light with wings, and very large meaning very, very, very tall. And that it was the case for a lot of my adulthood as well. Though recently, I'm noticing that all of us, most of us, when we astral project, 'cause we meet each other, that we have conversations with here, as well as in the Zoom meetings, I'll see a lot of you. Whether or not you recall it, you'll recall it later at some point, kind of thing. And these days, we look like ourselves. Like that's an important thing to note, is that we have evolved and ascended in such a perfect, balanced way that now when we go into our spiritual sense of being, we go there as ourselves. We don't have to reach up to a higher realm, to a higher space. It's kind of cool. So, great question. I don't know if I answered all of your question, but it's so good to see you, Karen. Anya, good evening from Norway. Good to see you. Stacy says you can use spoons to ground. That's really cool. There is no spoon. I really want to check that out. I am going to look into that. Thank you. Eric says, "Hi, Karen. I have felt the same my whole life. I was never into this. I felt like I was not going to do this from a young age." Yeah, yeah. A lot of us, I think, had that experience where put a lot of effort behind leaving. And I would be so angry. People die on accident all the time. And I knew that for me, when I chose to come back at 4, the plan was so I had a near-death experience when I was 4. It's a long story that one day I'll tell because it's so cool. It just takes a lot of time to explain all of it. Um, I knew that when I died, that was the plan. Like, I was meant to, like, that before I was embodied, I was going to leave at that time, and there was going to be things that were going to occur around my family and stuff that was going to help. And then I was going to reincarnate later on. And I just knew that was going to happen. Side note, really kind of fun is, excuse me, I knew I was going to reincarnate as a little girl that would be orphaned by the age of 1 in Tibet. And later on in life, I found out that was when the whole thing in Tibet happened, is that and it fits along that paradigm. I really do wonder about that girl that I would have incarnated as. Someone's her. I really wonder what her life is like. I should check in somehow and figure it out. Anyway, I knew that, and then they said, "Oh, but you can stay. There's been enough. We are right now at least 30 years, 20 to 30 years ahead of schedule in our ascension. What the timeline of it being like the end of the last shadow was previously 2050, and now it's 2030, and growing to be a sooner and sooner and sooner date, and so that is amazing. And the same thing happened in that moment. Enough free wills had done enough choices that assisted the alignment of that moment that I could stay embodied in this form and still do what I was meant to do as a Tibetan orphan girl that migrated to the States. And so it's very interesting to, um, and when I did that, though, I knew that if I came back at that moment, that would eliminate my choice in death. Like I wouldn't be able to intentionally cause my death. And I knew that at that time. And I remembered that throughout my life as I became a very suicidal teen and young adult and so on, is that I found myself regretting and being angry at myself for having made that decision, for having made that choice and agreed to stay. It's kind of interesting. But I noticed that many of us have like this bubble around us, and um, there's most of us have stories where it's like, wow, I should have died, but we didn't, because we're not supposed to. Not yet. As we're here right now, we are part of this greater, bigger thing of awakening, of ascension, of reaching the frequency that is intended for this space at this time. And as we go past that, that's the last part of the story that I really want to convey is we're leaving behind the things that we don't like. So whenever I've died, every time there's always energies that come and want to know what it was like, tell us what it was like. We wish we could have been there, kind of stuff. And you always want to tell the stuff about joy and love and happiness and family and celebration. And they're like, they don't care. They know about that stuff. What they are unable to connect to and to experience is the sense of separation. This illusion of separation is how they worded it. From God and from others, that we're truly not separated. They wanted to know what it felt like to have mourning and loss, suffering, chronic depression, sadness. Those are sensations that they don't have the access to. And so I find that when I do have those moments, that I kind of lean into it, almost savor those moments, because like this might be the last time I'm sad. And it's really interesting that was when I discovered when we lean into these things, it makes them go away. When before we had ignored and denied and stuffed and kept them there so they would flavor everything that you did in the next 10 years until they were actually looked at and healed. And so it's just a useful thing to know, allowing ourselves the honor of leaning into the pain when it comes, just to allow it to be what it is. It will go away. And also, it might be the last time that you have that sensation. So, Dharma, on the topic of family, what are we doing with narcissists and enablers in our bloodline right now? Am I supposed to be clearing generational trauma? I can't get away from these people for some reason. I've noticed the narcissists are kind of picking up lately. Like it seems like there's more of them. And then I started to remove my consent. And so this is a really useful thing that's happening across the board for everybody right now. I remember even getting that message. I think it was Archangel Michael. I can't remember now. It was during a group meeting, but the wording was, you are now entering the age of consent. And that actually does mean something else for a lot of us. It was kind of off-putting for a second, but the meaning of that is that we are aware enough in our energy and where we are in the world, as well as all of the places that we are within our own body and society and so on, that before, let's say it this way, before it was assumed consent because there was no way for us to truly wrap our mind around it. And now now that we have evolved to this higher state, we are meant to choose to consent or to not consent. And so allowing ourselves to consent to these higher frequencies as well as choosing to remove your consent to all of these other operating systems that no longer harmonize with the frequency that you're keeping. I remove my consent from manipulation across the board. And as soon as I did that, and it was really simple, just in meditation, I remove my consent for any manipulation now, in the past, or in the future, in this embodiment as well as others. And I was just very clear in my heart that I mean it. No joke, kind of thing. And when I did that, then all of a sudden the narcissist went away. And by the way, we don't have soul contracts. We have soul agreements. The word contract was from the lower fourth that were trying to make us feel like that we were trapped in them. There is no ironclad contract here. We are choosing. And in that choice, you can remove your choice. You can remove your consent at any time. It's 111. It's so cool. Speaking of, I do need to get going. I love you all so much. Thank you so much for being here today. And please join me again next Sunday, same time, same place. And then Friday at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, we will have our group Zoom meeting that are free. I love you all. How blessings.